And we back. Now today's video I decided to compile a list of the 10 most influential basketball players in my life. Now I don't mean influential in the sense that of me being a hooper, because y'all know I'm a fan, I'm not a baller. Alright, you feel me? I'm a fan. So these are the players that got me to love the game. I've been watching this league since 2002. So as you take a look at this list, these are the players that got young Kenny, not 21-year-old Kenny, to fall in love with the game of basketball. Because though I do dabble in MLB and I guess a little bit, not really in football, I ain't even gonna flex with y'all. Pretty much it's NBA up here, MLB like right here. Though I do like the MLB, it's missing something that the NBA has, and that's these 10 players that got me to love this league. Now again, this is young Kenny, so you will not see a Steph Curry, you will not see a Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, because I've been watching the league before they got into the league. All right, now this list is a little weird, especially from the start, but I promise you I'll explain to you why these players are most influential to me. Number 10 is Ben Gordon. Now you don't click off the video. I know it's kind of wild. He's the only guy on this list that's not like a superstar, but you got to think about it. I was a young kid that I only got to watch some nationally televised games and then all the Bulls games. You feel me? And there's a period of time, there's like 5 years of Ben Gordon being amazing. Amazing. He's one of the reasons why I became a Bulls fan. You know, it is partially, of course, that I'm from Chicago and I rock with Chicago teams, but a young me was very influenced by how good Ben Gordon was. Now, those teams were relatively trash, if we're being honest. I think we made the playoffs 1 year or 2 years with Ben Gordon. For the most part, those teams were pretty trash, but night in and night out, Ben Gordon was pretty good. Now, he kind of fell off a cliff after his years in Chicago, but he's one of the reasons why I'm a Bulls fan today. You got to remember, I wasn't around to watch MJ play. Though we love MJ, I didn't get to see him play live. I did get to see Ben Gordon be the 6th man of the year as a rookie. So though he's not like the other players on this list as far as being some of the greatest players, he was definitely influential to me. But he actually was a very underrated or underappreciated scorer of the 2000s. But that's for another video. Let's get to number 9. It's Kevin Garnett. Now, when I was a hooper back in the day, I was kind of a trash talker, you know? And usually if you're going to be a trash talker, you may want to back it up. I never really was a guy to back it up, but I thought I was really getting under players' skin, and a lot of that had to do with Kevin Garnett, man. And though young Kenny didn't have the vocabulary or really even know how to really diss somebody, I felt in my mind I was being as intense and as controversial as some of the things that Kevin Garnett did. Now that's just him being a trash talker. We not even talk about the overall skill of Kevin Garnett, one of the best defending bigs we've ever seen in this league. And you think about it, the last time Minnesota was in the playoffs besides this year was the Kevin Garnett team, where he led them. I think Sam Cassell was the second option, Trent Hassel was on that team. Just know that team wasn't amazing, but they had KG. Now, when the years of Boston was around, most of the league hated Boston, right? But even though, like, when they knocked out my Bulls in that 7-game series, I was mad, obviously, but I knew we weren't supposed to be there. I think that was rookie Derrick Rose, so that team wasn't really good. We overachieved. But after the Bulls were knocked out, I was kind of rooted for Boston for the simple fact of they had Kevin Garnett. I love that guy, and that's why he's number 9 on my most influential list. Number 8 is Vince Carter. I don't have to say much. Y'all know it. The younger viewers now know it. When you see somebody throw down a ridiculous dunk, it makes you feel good, and that's what Vince Carter was. Now, obviously, he was way more dynamic than just a dunker, but when he was dunking the ball, it was a sight to be seen, man. Some of the best things I can think about of like the NBA is the dunk contest with Vince Carter. With the It's Over. I don't remember what year that was, but I just know that when I was young watching that live, I was super excited. And I remember back in the day, we didn't have cable, so we had to go to my uncle's house to watch all the like stuff that was on cable basketball. It was a great time, by the way. But Vince Carter was just one of those players that, again, everybody on this list I've been rooting for, or to some extent, but I've always wanted Vince Carter to end up in a place where he can win a ring. It just didn't work out. Maybe he'll sign to Golden State this offseason or something. I don't know, but I want the guy to win a ring because he definitely deserves it. And he's definitely a fan favorite. Next, we got Kobe. Now, I understand this is pretty low for Kobe. Kobe will probably be top 5 on a lot of people's list. But for me, he's here, which is still pretty good. You know, there have been thousands of NBA players since I started watching. He made the top 10. That's something. And I just know that I remember loving to watch the Lakers play in the past. And more specifically, after Shaq left, like the Pau Gasol as a second option Lakers, I really like those teams a little bit more than the Shaq teams, because again, I think Shaq was more of the #1 option or the main course, and Kobe was kind of the side dish. But when when Shaq left, and you know, you got Pau Gasol coming in, well, now Kobe is the steak. You get it? All right, I'll see myself out. But you know what I mean? Like, when he was the main course, I liked watching him better than when he was with Shaq, you know? But the Mamba mentality itself is the reason why he's on this list. Even to this day, where I'm no longer hooping, where YouTube is my job and podcasting is my job, and when I'm in school, when I was in school, the Mamba mentality is just something I lived by to some extent. And in this day, and I think for the entirety of my life, the Mamba mentality will be something I'm thinking about when I have goals. And number 5, we got LeBron James. And I know this seems kind of low because, in my opinion, he is the best player of our generation. But there are other people above him I just love a little bit more. LeBron, obviously an amazing player, even in year 15. He's one of the only people on this list that is still amazing at his age, you know? Again, coming in 2000 and 2003, right after I start watching the game, he was the chosen one. And for the most part, he's lived up to that hype. He's lived up to the hype, and here we are in year 15. He's still putting up triple doubles in playoff series and stuff like that. The guy's an amazing person, a player, and even person. Like, off the court, there has never really been an issue with LeBron James. Ever. Not a negative issue. He's always been a guy to try to give back. He's always been a guy to try to start conversations and stuff. And that's something to really admire in his character. And that's not even counting all the stuff he did on the court. The guy's just a straight baller. Let's move to number 4, though. Number 4 is Shaq. Shaq is the most dominant player I have ever got to see watch. And again, what I said with the Kobe thing, I saw Shaq as the main course when it came to those early Lakers. And man, there was nobody in the league that could stop him. I think at his prime, he was at like 290, 285 in weight, but somehow he got his big self, almost 300-pound self, up and down the court at a fast pace. You would think a guy that's close to 300 pounds would be the last guy back on offense and defense. Not really, man. I hope I can find some clips, man, but there is a thing that Shaq did back in the day where he'll dunk on somebody and he'll just sprint as fast as he can back on defense. Didn't showboat, didn't do nothing. He got back on defense, but at an extreme rate. Like, he was sprinting. He was trying to run a 4.340. He may have forgot it. I'm pushing it a little bit. But the guy was extremely fast for his size, extremely dominant. There was not a player in the league that can stop him at any aspect of the game. And that's ridiculously impressive to me. But let's move on to the next one. Next, we got Dirk. Now, I said Shaq was the most dominant player that I've ever got to see play. But Dirk is a little bit behind him without the physical tools. Yes, he's 7 foot. But other than that, he had no athleticism, or he wasn't fast, but somehow he figured out a way to hone an amazing career, MVP career, NBA champion career. He's the only 7-footer I've ever seen shoot the ball this way, and he has a signature move that even to this day, people cannot guard. The Dirk 1-footer, the Dirk fadeaway to this day at age 40 plus, is unstoppable. Obviously, he's not shooting it at the same rate, but you still see him at 40 doing the same move, and you can't do anything but just watch in admiration. Long hair Dirk, Jesus hair Dirk was the man, and when I got to see him win his ring, I was super happy for obvious reasons. We hated Miami. We hated the Heat. You feel me? We hated the Big Three Heat. So when you get to see basically the underdog and the Dallas Mavericks win that series against 3 of the best players in the league, you're happy. You're happy, you know? And I just hope Dirk said he's coming back next season, and I can't wait to see if he can do anything more. He can't dunk no more. He's 7 foot, but he can't dunk no more. Our number 3 is Chris Paul. Now, these next 3 people, you're gonna see a theme. You're gonna see a theme, and I won't spoil it until after we get to number 1. But next is Chris Paul. Now, I've always seen Chris Paul as one of the purest form of point guards. Now, in this era, we did have Steve Nash, we had Jason Kidd, we have players like Jason Williams even, that were very pure point guards, but it was something about Chris Paul that made me gravitate more to him as a fan, you know? Does that mean he's better than Steve Nash? No way. I mean, who's better? Who really knows? Who really cares? But something about Chris Paul's game made me more of a fan of him versus Steve Nash. And it could have been the defensive ability because he was a better defender than Nash or Jason Kidd or Jason Williams or whatever. But something about his game made me like him a lot. And I've always been a guy that's been rooting for Chris Paul. Always been. A couple years ago when he hit the game winner in Game 7 against the Spurs, I was extremely ecstatic. I knew that they weren't going to go that far in the playoffs. But him getting out of the first round meant a lot for a fan. You know, for a fan. And this year, it looks like he's going to hit the conference finals. They're up on the Utah Jazz and everything. But I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to be successful. Number 2 is Dwayne Wade. One of my fondest memories as a young NBA fan was the 2003 NBA draft. I remember that night so vividly. It was me, my cousin Pierre, who y'all know from the Through the Wire podcast, and a couple of Pierre's brothers. At this time, I'm 7, maybe 8 years old, and all of me and my cousins had hoop dreams. Pierre's dad played D1 basketball, so he's always been a coach to us, right? He sits us down for the 2003 NBA draft. We had pizza. Okay, that's irrelevant. And he sits us down and he says, tonight, you're about to see a kid get drafted that grew up 20 minutes away from where we live right now. And he was trying to make the point that, you know, you can make it no matter where you're from. No matter where you're from. Now, obviously, Chicago has produced a lot of NBA fans, but it was something about this moment that made me really love it. I'm like, oh, he gets drafted 5th. And since that moment, I have been a huge Dwayne Wade supporter. You know, like, it got to a point, younger me kind of molded my game around Dwayne Wade. It was obvious that I wasn't gonna grow much, you feel me? So I was trying to be a crafty guard like Dwayne Wade is, and I just remember that day so vividly as a fan of basketball. And I just love Dwayne Wade. And then let's not mention he ended up wifing one of the baddest in the world, you feel me, and Gabrielle Union, which is dope. But yeah, that night as a fan of basketball and a lover of my cousins and my uncle, I will remember that night forever. And last, and number 1, is Allen Iverson. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that one of the main reasons I love this game of basketball is because of Allen Iverson. My first basketball memory, my very first watching basketball memory has to do with Allen Iverson. It was either 2002, 2003, 2004, I don't know specifically. I was watching, it was literally the last Bulls game of the season. Allen Iverson and the Philadelphia 76ers coming to town. Now, the Bulls at this time are terrible. They got like 20-something wins. They're bad, but the 76ers are fighting for playoff seeding. They had already clinched their spot in the playoffs, but they're like, are we going to be the 3 seed, the 4 seed, or the 5 seed? That's how close it was in that race. So Allen Iverson and company had to come to Chicago, beat this terrible team, and they got the 3 seed. I'm pretty sure how it works. So this game was back and forth, back and forth. You had Jamal Crawford put up, I think he had like 40 that game. Eddie Curry just destroyed Kurt Thomas. He had like 30, and the Bulls were playing pretty well. But the whole time these players are playing well on our team, I think Jalen Rose even had like 30. I think we had a couple players drop 30 that night. While our team, our young players or our players are looking decent, on the other side of the ball, there's this 6-foot guard that was a monster. An absolute monster. And he did not shoot well this night. I don't know. I don't remember the percentages. I don't even remember what year it was. But he did not shoot well this night. But one thing he did do, he got to the free throw line. I know he shot 20 free throws. That is one of the things I remember. He shot like 20 free throws, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But this 6-foot dude was taking a head on with Eddie Curry. And I was like, wow. Okay. 2003, 2004, I knew I wasn't going to end up being tall. So when I saw this guy and Allen Iverson doing these things, I'm like, you know what? My hoop dreams ain't over just yet. They ain't over just yet. But the sad thing is that for the 76ers, at least, they end up losing this game and they didn't get the 3 seed. I think they got the 4 seed because they lost to a bad Bulls team. But Allen Iverson had like 40 plus, and most of those are coming off free throws because he was going to the towers he was fearless. He was fearless. And Matt Barnes did a podcast a couple months ago. He was just saying that, like, you know how Allen Iverson wore the sleeves and stuff. He said under those sleeves, Allen Iverson had bruises and knots on his elbows from taking a beating every single night. We're going into it with 7-footers. The guy was fearless, and for 12 to 13 straight years, this under 6-foot dude, I know he's classified as 6 foot, but we know you short of AI, was unstoppable. He was unstoppable. And that's why he is the most influential basketball player in my life. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave it a like. In the comment section below, let me know who are the most influential players in your life. I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of Steph Curry's, a lot of Russell Westbrook's, a lot of LeBron's, a lot of KD's, because I know a lot of y'all are pretty young. But I'm very curious to some of the outliers. Again, like Ben Gordon was my outlier. Many people ain't saying Ben Gordon was influential to them. So let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave it a like. We'll be back tomorrow.